Thank you, Samrit, for introducing all of us. I think, one of the best things that could perhaps happen to any consumer brand in the past, at least decade, is quick commerce, because e-commerce, of course, started much earlier. And I think very few brands, especially early to growth stage brand, would actually admit that while we were going through the whole turmoil in the last 3, 4 years, when there was a funding crunch, a lot of operational challenges, etc., quick commerce is that one channel that has really come out and supported a lot of brands to not just grow but also grow very profitably, right? So, the conversation that happens in the back end, and a very few founders are very ready to admit, is how quick commerce has actually helped them navigate through their profitability journey and also becoming cash flow positive, right? And I'm one of them, in fact, and I think Josh and could also perhaps support me in this. But in this conversation, what we're trying to really bring about is perspective of both the sides, the brand as well as the retailer. And from the brand side, what is the kind of playbook that you require to actually build on quick commerce? Because there are a lot of brands here who are, say, maybe selling on quick commerce but don't know how to grow it, or who have not even started their quick commerce journey and therefore they really want some guidance on how to grow it. So, of course, we will share our perspective, but we would also want Abhishek to share his perspective on what is it that the brand should do, and also from a platform standpoint, what is it that they are doing to actually grow the brands and also the platform as a whole, right? So, we'll probably start with Shantanu. Maybe Shantanu, you can put some light around what is your playbook around quick commerce? And playbook, I would mainly want you to cover three aspects. One is assortment, availability, and the third one being visibility, right? Because visibility will, of course, drive the growth going forward.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, hi. I know we are noise and always quick commerce has been a perception, कि you will only get groceries, you will only get something which you needed in a day-to-day life. But what is electronics doing at quick commerce? And that was a big question for all of us inside also, will we get what we want out of that and something? And it led to a new discovery that we came out. So one thing which we understood that you can't expect a similar kind of a turnaround which you're getting maybe with Amazon, Flipkart, because there are certain categories and there are certain audience which they've already built. And similarly, quick commerce have built their own audience and there is a certain behavior they have while buying the same. So very interesting discovery which we got, and it led to do a lot of our strategies around that. So first I would like to touch base on that strategy that we understood over a time. So this interesting thing happened on, let's say, I think on Mother's Day, where we realized that we got a pretty good spike in our sale. And we were amazed at why this happened, like what led to a question, and then we realized that all your marketing efforts were kind of working for you in a way that the consumer might go and search on Amazon for the reviews, they read it about, and then they try to find it on a quick commerce. Are they available over there? And automatically you get shoot up with that particular sale also. So all your Facebook ads are also kind of working in your favor. You just need to make sure that you are available all the quick commerce and everything, so that you never know, they need it right now. And then the second same spike we got on Father's Day. Just after that, like in June, right? So that has given us a confirmation that this is actually working for us. We increased our visibility. That's the second aspect about the visibility. We started spending first on searches, which is, you often have this question that how do you start? I would always recommend that you start with searches maybe, which becomes quite effective for you, and then you can try it and test some of the properties on the visibility, whether it is merch. For instance, I can talk about something about the Blinkit, like maybe on a category, or Zepto, maybe something they started with the stories format or something. You can keep on testing these things, and then you will eventually come out with your answer, what kind of a visibility mix you need to have. But again, we went really good with our next spike, which was Rakhi. And it kind of worked for us like crazy. We enjoy a good 55% share in quick commerce for the smartwatch category. And that was a good hack which we found, that, okay, fine, that it is treated as one of the gifting area, and these are the areas where you need a prompt decisions. So your availability also becomes a very much important. So now you need to sort it out. Okay, fine, I am available here. I'm I need to make sure that I'm also available on Amazon from the reviews point of view, not just the YouTube reviews you said. So you don't go and give the bad inventory also, which I've seen. A lot of D2C brands start doing for the testing. They keep on the inventory they already have, because Amazon, Flipkart tends to buy a lot of inventory already, and then you need to understand this whole journey, that these touch points are important. I think now reviews and ratings are also sorted, so this will again enhance your experience. So yeah, that's it.
Great. No, so I think we heard Shantanu's perspective around electronics and how smartwatches are doing as a category. But I think we really face a lot of difficulties solving availability across different locations and dark stores. Being a non-perishable brand, but I had a brief conversation with Josh, and I was just understanding how in a perishable category he's solving operations, right? Availability, which is, I would say, 70% of your job when you're working on quick commerce. So first you solve for availability and then you solve for visibility. So just please throw some light on this. How are you doing it? And maybe some of these brands can then learn. I think the innovation team is also sitting here. They're also in food, but they're not perishable as such. So maybe we can also later engage with them as to how they're doing it. Okay, over to you.
No, sure. I think the category that we are firstly in indulgence, and indulgence marries quick commerce better than I think any other category. Very, very important to kind of have all your fill rates up to like 99%, 98%. If you're not doing that, you'll probably, phase out as a brand from quick commerce. It's that competitive, and one of the biggest problems that we faced early on, and we didn't have any playbook back then, we learned it along the way, was building projections unlike our tradition. So we also operate on Swiggy and Zomato across 130 cloud kitchens, and that's our primary business. Quick commerce just solves a lot for the end customer. While we build that business out, we realized that, okay, availability is not going to be the issue because we are holding inventory. We can keep 2 freezers, maybe 3 freezers tomorrow. All of that is just the opposite on quick commerce, where there is limited inventory available, limited SKUs that you're given, space for. Freezer space anyway is lesser than, your typical shelf space for FMCG products. So it is very, very important to build projections and do it in a planned way, in an efficient way. What we also realized was, unlike the typical seasonality that you face in your other channels, quick commerce behaves very differently. Shantanu also mentioned Father's Day, Mother's Day. I think these are spikes which can make or break your brand. If you're not available on those days, if you're not, going aggressive on those days, you're just losing out on that customer. So I think planning becomes a very, very crucial role. Almost, I think 50% of our time goes into planning, goes into warehousing. Where do we stock up inventory more? Is a Bangalore performing better than a Bombay or a Delhi? Blinkit works differently. Blinkit is very heavy in North. Instamart is very heavy in the South. Zepto is there in the West. So fine-tuning each and every, I think, channel partner basis, your availability is key. Apart from that, what I've also realized is operationally, however, difficult it can get, obviously you'll solve that someday, sometime. Pricing is something that you need to solve on day one. You need to be as competitive as the bigger players. You cannot say that you're a D2C brand and you're pricing it at a premium because, I have this, I have that. It doesn't work. The customer will perceive you as any other brand on quick commerce. Since brands like us, insurgent brands, get a chance to kind of be available in so many locations, it is very, very important to build for scale. And I think that is something we learned along the way. Earlier, we would just pick products from our current portfolio and put it on quick commerce. But very quickly, we started realizing that you need to build for quick commerce. Certain SKUs, certain categories, or be it certain flavor profiles also. So imagine a Malai Kulfi doesn't really work well for us on a Swiggy or Zomato, but is the highest selling SKU on quick commerce. So I think pricing with the right product market fit, right channel market fit, I would put it that way, is very essential apart from the planning bit.
Understood. So I think we've heard some perspective from both of these brands. I think I'll also share what is the kind of journey that we've sort of been through, right? At least about a year ago, us as a brand were not prioritizing quick commerce as much. It was still being done, in fact, through our distributor network, right? Because we're also available in retail, and we had distributors across almost 100 cities in the country. And because this business was so hyper local in nature, we thought let's solve the supply chain through those distributors. But there was very little visibility of data. There was and because of which what was happening was that our fill rates were very poor. You talked about 98% fill rate. I can't even literally in my wildest dream think about 98% fill rate, right?
You're at 99.5, by the way.
Wow, like I looked at my last month number, 94.5%. That is the best we've done. So kudos to you guys. So, but yeah, and gradually what we did was it became a priority for us, and then we moved the business from distributors and started doing it directly. And we let those distributors handle our offline business entirely, all the general trade stores and modern trade and pharmacies, etc. Right? And we saw that spike, and it is unfathomable because we were growing more than 100% quarter on quarter on quick commerce. Between last year and this year, we would have grown almost 250%. And we continue to grow at that same pace. Now, quick commerce has become, put together all the three platforms, is equivalent to our Amazon sale, which is our largest customer as a business, right? So it's become so important. And now what we're doing is that we're focusing on visibility, which is where now we're investing in a lot of different kinds of ad products that are being built by Instamart and the likes of Blinkit, right? And there I would want to understand from Abhishek, what are what are Instamart's strategic priorities as a business? How are they solving for their growth? And how are they also, what are the kind of recommendations that they have, or others, Abhishek, you have for brands like us to scale on the platform? And I think I would really want you to cover an array of things, because there's been a lot of development recently around the kind of campaigns that you're doing, especially around festivities. So please do cover that, because there's a lot of hidden learnings which honestly I would want to learn more about, and all of these guys would also would really love that. Please, over to you.
No, so I think we are pretty much at an inflection point, right? I think in the country with respect to how Q-commerce is shaping up, and a lot of us are learning every single day, and it's an evolving field for us. But I think for a lot of brands today on quick commerce, or have the intent to get on quick commerce, I think the first thing to do is essentially do the boring basics, right? Ensure that your brand is building a community, ensure your brand is getting the pricing right. So think consumer backward first, rather than being platform backward, because I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs who want to get on quick commerce and say, how can I build a brand which is Q-commerce first? And I think that's probably a slightly wrong approach. You need to first solve for consumers, because as a platform, we are also trying to solve for consumers, right? Our core goal today is essentially to reduce friction in our consumers' life. So how do we make a housewife's life a lot easier? How do we make a young single's life easier? How do we make a dad's life a lot simpler who's strapped for time, right? I think the common thread across all of these use cases is they're strapped for time. They are looking for efficiency. They're looking for convenience. So as a platform, Swiggy, Instamart is constantly looking at how do we enrich their lives. So when we speak to brand, we sort of look at those synergies, right? We look at how are you going to help us meet that mission? How are you going to help us grow the category? How are you going to help us grow the industry as a whole, right? So I think from a brand standpoint, is it possible to scale a brand on quick commerce without visibility? I think very, very hard because think of the consumer behavior, right? Quick commerce started with distress situation. So, you've run out of something end minute, a consumer comes on the app and he's like, I need it now. So he doesn't have time. He's coming on the app, he's searching something, he instantaneously wants to find what he's looking for and he clicks on the first product and he orders it. Today, it's slowly evolving into more and more use cases where consumers are they've gotten used to instant gratification, right? But again, time is less. So it is very, very important that visibility counts. Your brand is present at the point of high intent from a consumer standpoint. But I think that has to marry with something what Josh and the other panelists said, right? Assortment. Now, if somebody is about to travel or take a flight and he's realized he's missing something, he would probably want a travel kit, right? So do you have the right SKU at the right price? I think a combination of the right assortment at the right price and visibility is actually a good answer, is actually something that every brand should keep asking themselves. Are you just copy pasting it from other mediums or are you actually building the right SKU for quick commerce, right? So that becomes very, very critical. We are seeing a lot of interesting behavior from a search standpoint. We especially during festivals, and that's where a lot of our learning comes in. So during Rakhi, for example, we realized there were a lot of global searches happening where maybe consumers from across the world, either brothers want to send some gifts to their sisters or sisters want to send a Rakhi to their brothers, right? So that's a very interesting insight because suddenly you've opened up an opportunity for people, and these are use cases where maybe they've forgotten, they realized they can send it end minute. So how do you build that category? How do you tie up with brands? I think we spoke about festivals and occasions, right? You see a lot of positive tailwinds during these festivals like Ganesh Chaturthi, Raksha Bandhan. As a platform, what we're also doing is we are marketing aggressively during that time. So we typically see, say, 3x the traffic that you'll see on a normal business as usual day. So very important for brands to understand how they can play a pivotal role in those festivals. Not just, and it doesn't have to be immediate category relevance, right? It can be, are you a brand which can potentially be gifted? Are you an ice cream brand who can be part of a celebration, right? So as a platform, as a brand, how do you think about becoming a part of your consumers' festivities, and the platform can enable that? So these are some, I think, basics that brands need to get right, and I'm happy to talk about it more through the course.
No, I think very interesting integration around how during festive time you guys as a platform are growing, acquiring more users by virtue of really innovating a festival, literally, right? And that's in a way not just supporting brands who can be part of that festival, also supporting your future growth, right? So maybe if you can, Abhishek, also throw some light around how is Instamart solving for its own growth? How are they, beyond just the festive season, how are they also looking at acquiring more users, increasing the number of transactions? I already know that quick commerce transactions per month, probably their frequency is way higher than, of course, traditional e-commerce, and probably matching with the general trade numbers, right? So if you can just throw some light around growth in terms of users, transactions, and also frequency, EOV, etc. If you can just maybe briefly, of course, I can't expect you to share more details.
No, it's an interesting question. The way quick commerce works is we're using this theory called the category entry points right now. It's a very interesting theory come up by this gentleman called Byron Sharp, and everyone should read his book. It basically talks about how can you create mental models with your consumer over a period of time that helps them, that helps you create new instances in their lives, right? So for example, late night indulgences, right? Imagine you're a family in a city and you're watching a movie with your wife at 12 or 1 o'clock in the night, you feel like having an ice cream. What would happen earlier? You would probably have to drive like a few kilometers, get out of your house, get out of your comfort zone, drive really far, find a 24/7 store and maybe pick it up there. But today you have an opportunity to actually pick up the phone, order from a quick commerce platform, and it will be delivered, instantaneously, right? So one is we are solving for growth by finding new instances where we can cater to consumers. In a normal case, that demand would have been totally lost or been unmet. So you create those instances. The second is, and the same theory applies to festivals also, right? For example, if somebody forgot to buy a gift for when they're visiting someone's house and they suddenly realize, they probably would let it go. But in this case, you have an opportunity. So these are completely new use cases that are coming. The second piece obviously is there is a ubiquitous category called grocery, which people are buying day in and day out, right? So how can you give them better quality products? How can you cross-sell, upsell within the grocery category? But what also matters and what's also growing at a rapid pace is non-grocery categories and grocery plus plus categories, which is electronics, which is fashion, which is everything that you can think of. There's a very interesting, if you allow me, there's a very interesting consumer story. Last month I was in Delhi and I met this consumer and she kept saying, I love Instamart. मतलब मुझे प्यार है Instamart से. I'm like, क्या कर दिया हम लोग ने ऐसा? So she said, यार मेरे घर पे एक चिपकली थी and मैंने hit order किया प्लेटफॉर्म से, 10 मिनट में आया. मेरे को भी डर लगता है, मेरे हस्बैंड को भी डर लगता है, तो मैंने वो डिलीवरी एग्जीक्यूटिव को ही बोला कि आके प्लीज़ स्प्रे करो. उसने आके स्प्रे किया एंड वो चिपकली को उठा के बाहर लेकर गया. सो आई मीन it's a very small example, right? But that small instance has built so much love for the platform that you've potentially found a consumer for life, right? And this is a two-way journey, right? It's not just about us, it's also about the brand coming in. She found the product that she's looking on the platform. We were able to solve a small problem in her life, and that's created a lot of love towards the platform, right? So yeah, I think these are instances where, apart from spending an insane amount of marketing dollars, I think these are also instances how we are trying to solve these situations. Rains, is another instant. People hate going out during rains. We have occasions where our delivery executives are wading through like knee-deep water, waist-deep water, trying to deliver things to people who need it. So how do you capitalize on these moments?
I think very interesting because the fact that you're able to, in a way, expand a market by solving for an unmet demand. Imagine, I feel a lot of, especially your category, just ice cream might be growing by a function of what is the work that these guys are doing, right?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it would have just seen a steady growth. No, so I think another thing that I would want both of you to, in fact, specifically speak about are the challenges. We've got Abhishek, of course, here. We've also got Divesh, who's from Blinkit over here, sitting in the crowd. And if you can speak about the specific challenges that you are currently facing or have overcome in, by, say, a certain way, and then maybe this could be another thing for the team to kind of take away.
So, I would like to point out to two challenges primarily, which at least personally we've faced in our journey. One is definitely, assortment. Like, you can't have everything. Whatever you have as a brand, neither Instamart or Blinkit or Zepto is going to entertain that and keep everything. So don't ever kind of even dream of having that assortment, which also, boils down to the thought that whatever you keep has to be the best. So select the best which is relevant to the platform, by which a small customer need, like Abhishek mentioned, late night cravings. Late night cravings, in fact, got on as a banner on Instamart very recently. I think 8-9 months back is when it started. And we started seeing an amazing uptick because of that. So we just participated in some visibility on that part of the app, and it just works brilliantly. But it's also a challenge, right? I mean, what do you solve for late night craving as a category, for example? And the other thing I think is because there are so many brands now wanting to come on quick commerce, wanting to explore how big the market can be, it is super competitive. So obviously, while you have to stay relevant, you have to make a good product market fit, all of that said and done, you will have to be at the forefront all the time. And I think that can come from maybe relationship building to some extent with category managers, with people like Abhishek.
Who's a fan of your ice cream?
Right. So I think that and both these problems need to be solved together as you go along the way, because anything that goes wrong in these can kind of make your brand go stagnant also, and then later may not be relevant for the platform and can be off it.
One quick question, and it may just come across very silly to you. Does your assortment vary platform-wise?
So, good question. I used to think that it would, because it gives the consumer more access to different flavors.
Yeah, because consumer are
Right.
everywhere. Literally everybody has
All the three apps, yeah.
Yeah.
So, earlier we used to think so, but when we did that, we started seeing that some SKUs not performing well on some other app. So now we've kind of consolidated and kept everything together. But from a regional standpoint, so a Bangalore's assortment will be way different than a Bombay's. Or Delhi's assortment is way different than Bombay and Bangalore both. So that is something that you'll have to fine tune. But it has to be largely the hero SKUs that you bring.
Yeah. So, Shantanu, for you, for noise, I think, and for electronics in general, right? I used to feel it's like that poster boy category. Everybody wants to say that okay, we're selling electronics, but that's for PR reasons, because consumer would think, oh, interesting thing has happened, and I would really think that electronics won't really sell on quick commerce, right? Because until I actually ended up buying an AC on, I won't name the platform, but yes. Now that brings me to you. What are your sort of interesting insights, and also some of the challenges that you would want both Abhishek and sort of Devesh to kind of take back, and maybe some of them that you've already solved for?
I think it's just not a PR. I think it's a very necessary category for quick commerce from all P&L standpoint also. I think what we are also trying to solve is their cart size, because comparatively electronics is a higher ASP product, and comparatively they will also get a margins out of it. Now, not going over there, but I think there is no challenge, there is a problem statement, and it is from both the side. It is from brand side also and the quick commerce side also, that we need to build the category together, because people perception on the quick commerce is still on the grocery side, which you said, right? We still have to do the similar, and I see that transition happening. I see that quick commerce is coming up and doing campaigns with us and a lot of stuff, which you will see in the coming time, in the coming months. A lot of things which we are also planning, going ahead and doing things which we have not done it with others. So I think we are there to actually build the category with them. If India wants to have something in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, why not? Like, we are there to solve this. So there's no challenge. I think there's a problem statement which we both need to solve for. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're now inching very close to the end of the session. Abhishek, I would want you to kind of maybe summarize for everyone what are the key takeaways for you as a retailer, and maybe also, I think briefly just some of the recommendations for, you already of course covered that, for all of us, or the three of us. So if you could please do that, and then maybe we'll have like a quick, maybe 2-3 minute question Q&A if you guys have any questions. I think some of you might have. This has been an interesting conversation. So Abhishek, over to you.
So, I mean, I'll divide this question into two parts, right? One is for brands who aspire to be on QuickCom. I think for you, the first set of questions that you need to answer is, how are you helping their larger mission, which is, are you helping them make lives of consumer easier more frictionless? Are you improving in-store productivity and driving the net margins up? At the end of the day, that's an important factor. Are you helping them increase their average order value, right? So answer these questions in your head. I think if you're able to do at least one out of the three, or if great if you can do more than one. So I think you'll find more relevance and inclination towards you being onboarded. Now, for brands which are already on the platform, I think it's critical to create velocity in terms of visibility, the right assortment, being at the right place at the right time. And we spoke about events, right? Events are not just limited to Ganesh Chaturthi, Raksha Bandhan events like which already exist, but you can mount your own event, right? Like for example, female hygiene could potentially be an event that you can actually create on quick commerce. So think about the category, think about how you're going to grow the category on the platform, get that head start, because once I think it's a very similar learning to where e-commerce was 10 years back, right? Brands which sort of took that head start, invested in that business, are sort of reaping the benefits today because they built out the consumer habits. I think, did I answer all your questions?
No, I think you have very well. So you've covered both the perspective, both from a brand that's aspiring to be in quick commerce, and what I can get it is that you have to first build it outside, and then kind of create that demand so that quick commerce kind of accepts you, and then and of course for the brands like us who are already there, how do we build that velocity, that visibility through marketing? No, this has been an interesting conversation. We open the floor for questions, but before I do that, can anybody tell me quickly what is the most frequently ordered product from any of the quick commerce app? Who is that?
Sorry, what was that?
What is the most frequently ordered product from quick commerce? I heard somebody say P-Safe. I would really like to believe that, but anybody else wants to take up that question? Sorry? Toys? Cigarettes. I heard somebody say milk. By the way, milk is actually the #1 product, and I just happened to have a conversation with these gentlemen that none of these quick commerce make money off selling milk, but they're still selling it as the highest selling product, right? Yeah. So, I mean, this is just an interesting insight I wanted to kind of sort of close the conversation with. Thank you very much. Any other questions that you would want? Yeah. Can somebody please hand over the mic? Yeah, you're audible.
Grocery traditional insights being there is the purchase cycle, and then there is. So traditionally, the grocery insight has always been there are two instances when you go buy grocery. One is your purchase cycle, typically 25th to 4th. That's when your salary comes in. You go, the average household goes, and then there's top up, right? And this conversation about, and I remember having this chat with the Big Basket founders, and they said we've cracked the grocery cycle. The top up is the one which has to be solved. And this is a long time back conversation, which in my mind, quick commerce kind of addresses that very quickly. Actually, my question to you is, are you seeing that pattern changing? So I'm clear about top-ups, and that's the obvious use case in grocery, and obviously all the brands on the podium are also kind of leveraging that instance of saying. But I want to understand, are you seeing that behavior changing?
We are actually. So you're right. So, about 60 to 70% of the shopping missions happen during, say, the payday sale, which is when, everyone gets salary in their accounts, etc. And that's where you see maximum velocity in terms of purchases of groceries. However, what's happening in the last 1 year is if you had an average of 2 to 3 grocery missions in a month, which is one main grocery mission and a few top-ups, that's now getting divided to say a 5 or a 6 or even a 7. And in a lot of households that we are talking to, it's becoming a daily mission. So they've practically stopped stocking up on eggs and milk. They just buy it every single day. So what's happening is their missions are more spread out, which is why I think we are asking ourselves the question, is a payday sale enough? Do we need to do more? Do we need to do more such instances, not just of delivering extra value, but how can we help the consumer in their day-to-day mission? So, for example, subscription services. Things like these are being discussed at the company. But you're right. So it is evolving. It's a slow evolution, but it's happening as we speak.
And I don't know, and this is again as an outsider, what's the typical average revenue or average basket size that you guys typically have, or in the industry itself?
Sure.
No, because that's a clear measure of whether that big one purchase is shifting. Because see, a lot of, I mean, for example, the milk and the breads and the eggs are again a standard behavior where the guy will come up, drop that milk, and that's moving online, right? I mean, so that's the capture. But is that big basket, or when I say the big purchase, is that happening on your platforms yet or no?
So without getting into exact numbers, the average basket value sort of ranges in between the 500 to 700 sort of a zone, right, for today, as of today. But the economics on that is improving every single day, precisely because we are able to look at grocery plus plus and non-grocery categories like electronics, etc. So our attempt is how do we use AI, how do we use upsell, cross-sell opportunities with the consumer. Can we remind him about some stuff? So at the back end, if you know his purchase history, can you maybe think of that he's running out of some stuff, remind him at the end towards the purchase journey, bundle more things. So the goal is towards profitability. The goal is towards running the business in a profitable manner. And for that, I think average order value becomes critical. I think the most important factor, right? And which is why you'll see a lot of thrust coming up now on new age categories outside of the grocery business, right? But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
I think there are a few more hands. Can we take up your questions outside? I think because we're really over time. I think this conversation went at least 10 minutes overboard. So we'll take up your questions. Apologies for that.
Thank you so much, Ritesh and panelists. We have a small token of gratitude from all of us and from the Aratha team.
All right. I really asked Shiny to give me this panel, one, because I'm only learning. Okay, so I'm really excited about being here with these wonderful guys. And also, it's always great to be on a panel where we're only asking questions and saying, "Mere paas dimag nahi hai." But so that's what I'm excited about. Okay, Gen Zs, right? Generations it's a slightly tricky concept, right? Because while we talk about segments and personalization and segmenter one, this is probably the biggest, broadest segment that we're having a conversation about. But I think what's interesting is that there are, enough and more statistical proof about how generations have some similarities which brands and businesses need to adapt to understand and so on and so forth, right? And again, Gen Z is one of them. And just technical information, I hope I'm getting this right. 97 to 2012 is Gen Z. And as Shiny, my friend, told me, they're also called Zoomers. Okay, so this credit is to Shiny. The generation before that is millennials, and generation after that is Gen Alphas, right? And again, this is interesting, right? Because the person who was born in 97 is almost 17 now, right? And it's almost close to entering the workforce. The other thing which is interesting is that this is the first truly digital native generation, which means they were born when internet was part. Most of us, most of us are immigrants in some sense. Some of the younger millennials will be natives again. The other thing is, and I was reading somewhere, that large events in your environment impact the psyche of the generation, right? So, and if you look at this generation, COVID happened during this generation's time, right? So I think that's the other, as I said, the factor which is going to shape how this generation operates and behaves. The other point which I found very interesting was that this generation, while it's about 100 million in the country, so it's large base already, but might not have the purchasing power right now, and Alok and I were discussing this, but they definitely have a strong influencing power, right? So cars, fashion, they're making their choices themselves, they're much more aware. The other thing which I started finding quite interesting was, and again, there's this generation's again focusing a lot more on inclusivity, some of the more modern concepts, if I have to say it, things that millennials or boomers have been talking about for much long, inclusivity, sustainability. So some of these larger macro elements seems to be impacting their psyche. Again, I have no idea this. I read on the internet, so not to say that I'm just trying to sound smart, right? But that's all that my information is. And I've got this wonderful panel here to help us decode this. And I'm going to start with respect to the others, Alok, and two reasons. One, I didn't even ask him how young he is. He's the youngest, I'm just assuming. And therefore, he has the right to talk about Gen Z. Second most important thing, he runs a brand which is designed for Gen Zers, right? So I think he does bring in a lot more insight. And before I obviously come to Abhishek and Arun to get their views as well. So Alok, and again, we're happy to hear your understanding of what is Gen Z really, right? And give us a sense of what are you learning about this particular generation, how they operate, what they want, what they buy, and so on and so forth. And then we'll probably do a deep dive on what you do as well in my second half, though. Thanks, Alok.
Hey, hi, hello everyone. So one thing that, like when you look at our consumers, right, like who they are. So primarily Gen Zs, yes, urban millennials too. And what we have noticed is that the customers, right, or so what they express themselves through our products. So in their own circle of influence, right? It need not be like 10,000 followers in their Instagram. It can be just a 900, say, followers, right? But they want to express themselves through the things that they use in their day-to-day life, and apparel being one of the key things. So our customers, like it can be mainly for, say, they go on a date, right? Or they go on, so these are all special occasions that they purchase our products for. So it can be a vacation with their friends in Goa, or a resort stay with their family, or pub hopping with their colleagues, right? So these are the times when a lot of, as these are special occasions in their life, right? So a lot of reels, lot of photos, lot of things are created. And one of the key things that we have noticed is that, customers do not like to repeat the products. The reason behind that is that once it is posted in Instagram, they don't want to see, again in the same clothes. So this is one thing that we do notice. Second is that they do buy also. The frequency of buying is also quite high, right? Like, so that is again something that we have noticed. And so there was one thing, initially we started primarily as a, marketplace brand, right? So at that point of time, it was more like a black box kind of a thing because we didn't know who our end consumers were and how they were using it. The only way we came to know about it was when they started tagging us in Instagram, and then we could see that how they are using these products, right? So one of the cases that happened around 4 years back, right? 4.5 years back, somebody messaged us in Instagram and she was kind of angry with us saying that what kind of a brand you are, you do not have, all sizes like 2XL, 3XL, 4XL. So that means you're not an inclusive kind of a brand. And at that point of time, we being millennials could not relate with it. Like, why is she angry? Like, we sell small, medium, large XL. Yeah, means it's not that, we don't do that by choice. It's because that is the offering that we have. But then slowly, once we started understanding this, then we realized that it is important for them. Like being, inclusion, diversity, these are things that are very important for them. And, that is something that is, means they relate with the brand when, for the causes or the things that a brand does, for them it is very important. And even one thing that we have noticed is that we cannot be very polished or kind of not transparent. You have to be very transparent, and those are the things that work out. Like, if so, user-generated content is what is our major thing in our Instagram community, right? But the moment we put any kind of, polished kind of videos of models and all, it never works, right? So these are few of the things.
No, I love this. Social expression, inclusivity, and authenticity, right? I mean, these are three things that I'm taking away from you, and I think the wonderful examples as well. And Arun, I'm going to come to you now. And I think one, from your own perspective of the business that you represent, Subway, but even otherwise, and you were giving a couple of very good examples in our discussions before that. Just give us a sense of what this really means to you and what are you observing about this particular generation?
So Vishek, basis my experience of last 6 years in terms of trying to woo this segment and audience. Every day has been a day full of learning, I would say that. And for a simple reason that, the fact that I think this generation has managed to outsmart most of the marketers with respect to how they, deploy their money or waste their money in terms of impressing them. I think at the core of it, primarily, 2-3 things lies, with respect to this generation. One is the value and price point. The sticker is very important aspect of that. Both Zudio are just two, basic examples. We deliver great value at a particular price point. That's one. Second is, I would say they are very scared of getting into a situation like a FOMO. They are well rehearsed, well read, they are aware of the trends which are going on, what is happening, and they want to be well versed with it and associate with the brands which are also trying to be a part of conversation, be it a meme culture or a trolling culture or anything like that, is something that they associate with. Third thing, they are aspirational in life, no two thoughts about it. Their current state of mind with respect to how they want to manage their life, is different, and they have a perspective about how they want to move into future as well. So in my view, brands, as Lalok said, they need to be authentic with respect to what they offer to them. They need to stick to the values that they seek and, create, even if they are not able to afford this brand today, they should be able to seek that. And they have a very different way to go about things. And, I was discussing with you that, there are 3 team members of mine, one being, a millennial 1995 born, then there is a 2002 and 2003 born.